I believe that we can blame life of being unfair in many ways. There are people who are taller than me, stronger than me, smarter than me, better looking than me, maybe born in better financial backgrounds than me, etc. But there's one way in which none of us can question the equality of life, that is with respect to time. Whether it is the student or the teacher, doctor or the patient, chairman or the watchman, all of us have only 24 hours in a day. There are some of us who know how to manage time well, and in that same 24 hours they rule the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another wonderful episode of the Lalith Dhanush show. Today I have with me a passionate educator who runs this wonderful group of institutions called Transcend Group of Institutions. He got into the education field about 10 years ago, and from then on he's transformed lots of lives. To his credibility, he's done chartered accountancy, MBA, and then went on to do law, only to realize that education was where his passion lied. In this episode, you will see how Mr. Siddharth, a wonderful gentleman who's a hard-earned follower of Mahatreya, talks about his wonderful journey in the education field. For all those people who are watching, if you want to have the audio version of the same episode, do check out my Spotify channel for more such episodes. Do stay tuned and watch this entire episode and enjoy. Hello Siddharth, welcome to the Lalith Dhanush show. It's so nice to have you here. How do you feel?
I am feeling on top of the world and it's a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you so much.
Excellent, Lalith.
So Siddharth, I still remember the first time I heard your name across so many people that I know mutually, especially your students, because everybody who's been your student, who's been in your educational institutions has only been gaga about you and you know what kind of a person you are. And I for one can assure everybody who's watching that you are that exact same person people who tell you who you are, because a few weeks ago I met you and I was like, wow, he is the same person. So I mean, super kudos to you. I feel you're doing a fantastic job with everything that you're doing.
Thank you, Lalith. And I guess my biggest secret is that I'm driven by passion. And I always tell my students also, one of the mistakes which a lot of us end up doing is we pursue one profession to fill our pocket and another to fill our heart. Blessed are you if you can fill both your pocket and your heart out of the same profession. And that's when you enjoy doing what you're doing, and when you enjoy it, the best comes out of you. I've been fortunate to have been in this education sector where I fill both my pocket and my heart. And thanks to all my students. I never knew there was a teacher within me, if not for my students.
Yes, and I think it's a very wholesome feeling, right? That you get, like you said, you're making money, you're also following your passion, and not many people get to live this. Now, speaking of money and passion, was this the same idea you had back when you were a student?
I was always fascinated to become a teacher. Okay, a lot of my teachers inspired me. But if you ask me whether I knew then that one day I'm going to have an institution of the current size and the current reputation, the answer is definitely not.
Okay.
Following your passion helps you reach there, and especially when you want to start something new, when you want to start something on your own, a lot of people will say, no, that's not going to work. Are you sure? Do you think you have it in you to make it there? And I've started to realize that that is the first indication that yes, that's the right direction, you should go there. Rather than going where everyone wants to go, you should follow your dream, should follow your passion, and that requires courage, and more than anything that requires your willingness to get results that are not favorable to you. Because Mahatreya always says, in life you'll either get the results you want or the maturity you need. So there's nothing called failure.
Very true.
As long as you get the maturity that you need, it's just an experience. Whether the setback was an experience or a failure depends on what you have learned out of it. Correct. If you learn something out of it, it is categorized as experience. If you don't, only then it becomes a failure. So explore the world, and right now from here I've reached here, but I know there is still here to go. So even I'm exploring this journey.
I really love the word explore, because a lot of us who are into this education system are I personally feel, are shunned down because it starts from marks, you get compared, your parents might not know the right ways to take care of you in many ways. So your exploring phase decreases, and that's where I believe even Mahatreya says, be a child again. You know, you got to explore that inner child in you, and you'll realize that child never left. You just shut that child in you. So speaking of exploring, on your name, next to your name, you have a CA, you have an MBA, and you have a law degree. Now, that itself speaks a lot about exploring. How did you get through that educational phase of exploring?
Lalith, a lot of them now look back at my life and they say that maybe you had planned this, you knew that for an education setup you need this kind of qualifications to back you. It was not true. In fact, me doing chartered accountancy also was by chance.
Okay.
I was on my way to National Law School to get the application form. That's where I discovered that I was late for that year's admission. Rather than just waiting one full year, I asked my dad on my way back in the car, you have done something called CA, no? Even I'll do that. It was a stopgap arrangement for 1 year till I again applied to NLS. But then I got stuck into chartered accountancy, completed it. Then my dad reminded me, you originally wanted to do law. So now that you've finished your CA, why don't you go and also complete your original dream? That's where I went and completed my law. My mother always had this dream of wanting one of her children to go and study abroad and come.
Okay.
MBA in UK was purely to fulfill my mother's dream. Nothing of this was planned.
Okay.
Today when I look back, I realize how everything is connected with each other. Like today, the institution that I run, a lot of them come to the commerce workshops that we do because I've done my CA MBA law. And I recently read saying research reveals only 2% of the people have a direct connection between their profession and their qualification. Actually, I belong to that elite 98%. Qualification wise, I've done CA MBA law. I'm honestly doing nothing with respect to CA MBA law right now. I'm an educationalist. I know as youngsters, teenagers, students, we go through this journey of will my future be secure? Everyone seems to have clarity in their mind. I'm the only confused soul in life. I always tell them life is a journey of discovery. Go as far as you can see. When you reach there, you will be able to see further. That's exactly what I did with all my qualifications. Until I completed my CA, I didn't think ahead. When I completed it there, then I felt, okay, let's go back and do law now. And even after completing my CA MBA law, I know there was a point in time in my life where that was becoming an obstacle from me following my passion. I remember this day where I spoke to my dad and I told him about my desire to get into education. And he said, you have done CA, MBA, law. Now you want to become a tuition teacher? So I said, listen, whatever I have done should facilitate me doing what I want to do and should not become an obstacle. And of course, today my dad is one of my biggest supports. And thanks to him, the institution is where it is now.
Superb. I mean, I can just see how you've been moving on and I can say transitioning into your own wonderful level of success. And speaking of obstacles, one of the things that I truly believe is that if you have to get through an obstacle, you have to have some sort of knowledge, wisdom. And if you don't have that, you get somebody in your life who actually has been there and done that. And speaking of that person, the first person that comes to my mind is Mahatria. I think the first time I came across a video of Mahatria was about 2 years ago. Then I saw his picture in one of my mentor's house, which is Dr. Rajdeep Manwani. And I soon asked him the question saying, who's that? And then he told me a little bit about that. And since then, I've been glued to his programs. I want to understand, I know personally that you've been a big follower, or I should say, you follow many of his principles. But I want to understand, how did you get to Mahatria? How did you get to know him, and what role has he played in your life?
Lalith, I was at a crossroad when I was not sure what I want to do with my life. At one end, I had this deep burning desire of wanting to get into education. At the other side, we had tremendous pressure from home, having done CA, MBA law, having a job in Ernst & Young in a corporate, earning a reasonable paycheck, etc. That's when one of Mahatria's session, he said, everyone should check if they are in the right profession or not. How? Ask yourself, if you had all the money in the world, would you still be doing what you're doing? If the answer is yes, if you had all the money in the world, this is exactly what you will be doing, then that is your passion, stay there. But if your inner voice tells you that if you had all the money in the world, you would not be doing what you're doing right now, that is what you would be doing, then that is your passion, go there. And I've realized in this journey that when you do what you love doing, you don't feel you are working. It's only people outside who will tell you, my God, you're working so many hours and I'm really inspired by the amount of work and effort you're putting in. I don't feel it. I mean, when they tell me that, I just look back and say, really? Because I enjoy doing what I'm doing. Yeah. Okay. So I always believe follow your passion, have a guru in your life. The importance of a guru is there should be at least one relationship that is beyond your judgment. The world that we live in today, we judge everyone. We judge our teachers, we judge our parents, we judge our relatives, we judge our friends. There should be at least one relationship that is beyond your judgment, and sometimes you will need to follow that person and the direction that he shows.
Correct.
So for me, that was Mahatriya, and I know Mahatriya has been very, very instrumental in where I am today and where I am going to be tomorrow also.
Fantastic. And I think, like they say, your guru is the remover of obstacles. He's the person who shows you the way, and when you have no way out of it. And I truly believe in it. And some of the times when I look at it, I look at some of my teachers, and all of them, Dr. Rajdeep Manwani, I have Pawan, who's guided me through and through. And I can definitely vouch for every word that you've said. And now looking at somebody like Mahatriya, and even though I haven't met him and I really want to, I think it changes your life forever. It definitely does.
Absolutely. In fact, one of the most important lessons I've learned from Mahatriya is everything is created twice, first in the mind and only then in the real world. There are a lot of people who have this notion that how can one guru or one teacher or one inspirational soul change my life? Because they're not going to interact with me on a day-to-day basis. The truth is they'll change your thinking. And the mind of the man is the man. When you get your thinking right, it's just a matter of time before you get your life right. Okay. I remember learning this again from Infinitism and Mahatriya, saying all thoughts don't become things, but all things was once upon a time a thought. If I have a car today, it is because once upon a time I thought of having a car. That's why today it is a reality. If I have started an educational institution today, it's because once upon a time it was at the thought level and now it's become reality.
Correct.
So all thoughts don't become things. Now I could have thought to go to Singapore, I could have thought to probably visit Switzerland. It's not yet become a thing in my life. All thoughts don't become things, but all things was once upon a time a thought.
Fantastic.
So if you want to improve the quality of your life, you need to improve the quality of your thoughts.
Super.
Okay. So get your thinking right, and that's the only way you can get your life right. And especially right now during this pandemic, when everything is going right, anyone will think right. But when things are not going right, when education is gone online now, businesses we are not sure whether we are going to get back the same clientele that we had. We are not sure where the future is going to come from. At this time, how we are thinking is extremely important. And I have been fortunate that way. Not only Mahatriya, I have a lot of people who I look up to, including the two names that you said, Pawan as well as Rajdeep Manwani. And I'm glad that they ensure I'm always thinking right.
That's fantastic, because surrounding yourself with the right kind of people, with the right kind of mindset, I think propels you a long way. And one of the things that I want to ask you, Siddharth, is when was this aha moment that you had saying that I want to get into the educational field? Because I believe for that thought to become into reality, you need validation, you need proof, or you need some sort of good feeling towards that, and it comes from external world. How did you get that? When did you get into this whole phase of it? What was that moment?
There was a lot of fear because I was going to let go of my job in Ernst & Young, which had almost settled me down. I had to let go of the good to embrace the best. It was not an easy decision to make. In my life, I spoke to my parents and I said, give me just 6 months time. If this clicks, I go in this direction. If it doesn't, I'm a chartered accountant, I can always fall back on my qualification. The reason I could take this daring decision was because I did have a reasonable backup. Because I knew even if it does not work, I can always come back and be a chartered accountant. That's why I could peacefully take this risk element also. In that 6 months itself, the students in the first batch, in the first year in 2010, we had about 19 students who joined us. They were the ones who convinced me that there is a future in this direction. Thanks to them that I continued to follow my passion, and that aha moment came when they told me, sir, why don't you start a college? Because they had only one thing to tell me. They said that, sir, we learn more here, we enjoy more in this tuition setup of ours, why should we go to college? I said, because you need to get that certificate saying that you have completed your second PUC, completed your degree. They are the ones who told me, sir, then why don't you only start a college? If not for them, I would not be where I am here today. There are times in our life where people around us will have more confidence in us. Matre always says, you need to follow your heart. When there's too much noise here, you don't listen to your inner voice. If you can just quieten the noise levels here, there's too much of disturbance, too much of thinking, and that's the importance of non-doing and silence and meditation, etc. When you just silence your thoughts, your inner voice talks to you about which direction you should lead. And finally, even if the whole world believes in you, but you don't believe in yourself, even he cannot help you. But the beauty of life is, even if the whole world does not believe in you, but you believe in yourself, actually even he will not stop you. So follow your dream, follow your passion. That aha moment will come. If you are conscious enough and aware enough, you will be able to pick up that moments of life. And that inspiration can come from anyone. True. It can come from a person, it can come from a book, it can come from a movie, it can come from maybe a bus journey that you have had and something that you saw. It could also come from something which is not pleasant.
Pleasant, yeah.
Losing a loved one, witnessing an accident, not clearing in exams. I know this one gentleman who was working in IBM. He got thrown out of his job. Today, he is the founder of an organization which does a turnover of 100 crore. Him losing his job in IBM, at that moment, he looked at it as a negative experience, a failure. Today, he looks back at his life and says, thank God I got thrown out of IBM. Today, I am the founder of an 100 crore turnover organization. Right. So, like I said, there's nothing called failure. Whether it becomes a failure or an experience depends on how you look at it, the learning that you get from it.
Very true. And I believe at every instance, like you said, there is a learning opportunity. There is a space where you can look back, like Steve Jobs says, you can connect the dots looking backwards. But to connect those dots, I believe you need massive action. Without taking that action from that failure, if you look at failure and don't act on it, then it's not going to result in that 100 crore company you were talking about. Now, speaking of action, one of the most important things for people in commerce, especially for students, is you got to upskill yourself. You got to skill yourself, you got to keep learning, and being a lifelong learner is so important. What were some of the skills that were quite instrumental in your journey from your first year in 2010 till date? What are some of the most important skills you've learned?
Okay. Lalith, like you said, skills is extremely important. To me, skills is more important than knowledge. In fact, there are three elements which require attention: attitude, skills and knowledge. And I believe it should come in the same order. Our education system has focused too much on knowledge. Knowledge over time will become obsolete. For example, communication is a skill. What you communicate, that is that knowledge domain, absolutely does not matter. Even if an undergraduate student, he is communicating only about maybe comics and maybe friends, etc., it doesn't matter, but that skill of communication will always remain relevant. Reading is a skill. What you read doesn't matter. Even if a PU student is still reading Archie's comics, does not matter, but he should continue with that skill of reading. I was reading an article, Lalith, which so beautifully said in 2030, 80% of the jobs that will exist in 2030 is not even invented today. Wow. So what are educational institutions preparing children for? If you restrict yourself to knowledge domain, knowledge is going to change. What we used a few years ago, we are not even using now. So definitely we need to focus more on skills than on knowledge. Some of the skills which I worked on in the past, most important was communication. Communication has 5 elements: speaking, reading, writing, listening and non-verbal communication. Actually 80% of communication is non-verbal. Only 20% your words matter. Most of it is your non-verbal communication, your confidence, your gestures, etc. In addition to that, I focused on my touch speed typing, which is a skill. Today, a lot of kids, they text. They can text faster than you and I can talk. But typing is required. In fact, I really wish typing can be brought in schooling. Before children touch their first mobile and learn texting, first they should know typing. It does make a difference. Okay? Then there are skills related to profession. For example, in law, we did learn, formally learnt the skill of interpretation, the skill of convincing, etc. In chartered accountancy, the skill of reading a balance sheet. So there are some general life skills which everyone should know. There are some job specific skills. Mm-hmm. Both require attention. Mm-hmm. Knowledge, skills and much more than skills is attitude. Attitude is your outlook to life, your confidence, your willingness never to give up, your sincerity, dedication, if that is not there, we will not even master any skill. Playing a guitar is a skill. Even to learn that, you need the right attitude. First time you hurt your fingers because you pulled those strings, if you decide to give up, you are not going to learn it. If you don't have the right attitude, you will not even learn communication. So somewhere if the focus can also go on getting our attitude right, because a lot of youngsters today, in terms of talent and potential, they are much better than their teachers, they are much better than their parents. Only aspect lacking is their attitude and personality. If they can get that right, I am sure every teenager of today in his lifetime will achieve much more than what his teacher and his parent together achieved.
Very true. And I think with tech becoming one of the most catalyst inventions of the last 20 years, opportunities are at your doorstep. It's about, are you going to go open that door? And that's the attitude part of it. And speaking of all of these attitude that I look up to, especially in terms of college students, one of the things that I really believe is the easiest and the safest part to experiment in life is during your college phase, because you have absolutely nothing to lose. And one way is, sometimes you might be super confused in going into to know what you want to do in the next 2 to 3 years. First, of course, get a mentor who can suggest, but if you don't know it yourself, then even the mentor cannot do anything. And I believe the easiest way to crack that nut is to go do internships. Go work under people and do as many internships as possible within that 3 to 4 years of your college, or in your early stages of your career. Switch jobs, it's fine. But then you can think about settling. What do you think about working in different places, under different roles, under different people? What do you think about it?
Like you said, nobody can help you unless you are willing to help yourself. You said a mentor cannot help you if you don't have clarity about what you want to do. That is very true. If you just sit there waiting for a mentor to come and say, I will be your mentor, it's not going to work. You have to take that first step forward. And when you take one step forward in the right direction, you will see 10 people taking a step towards you to help you out. But that first step has to come from you. Initiation has to come from you. During your college days, yes, it's the best time to experiment and explore, not only college, even during your schooling days, because that's where you're not being judged. I believe that turning point is somewhere at the age of 21, 22, after which the world judges you as an adult. They will not give you a second chance to create the first impression. It has to be done before that. A lot of them believe that, let's take it slow, first let's focus on our qualification, then let's try an upskilling. That's not going to work. In fact, I always believe both should be taken simultaneously, your hard skills and your soft skills. There's no point saying, first let me earn all my hard skills, qualification, and then slowly I'll improve in soft skills. It's not going to work. After 22, you will be forced to put up an image to the rest of the world. You know what you are, but you will project a different aspect of you to the world. Before that, it is important. Internships is a fantastic way for you to grow, not just in terms of your knowledge and profession, but even in terms of your personality. All said and done, in any college or school, we are bound by a curriculum which is not completely in sync with what is required in the real world. Internship shows you what reality is. Internship shows you the kind of competition that is there, the kind of selfish attitude that a lot of people have, how to proceed further, what else you require beyond just your knowledge to work there. For example, networking, communication skills are very important. Even if you don't have any of these skills, you'll excel in exams. You will think my future is secure because I'm a rank holder. But when you step into reality, you will realize you've been chasing the wrong goals all your life. Given an opportunity to do an internship, like you said, everyone should seize that opportunity and they should try. Many times I've seen students feel, who will give me an internship? Why will they waste their time on me? Take that one step in that direction and you will realize how many people are willing to help you if you are willing to help yourself. So internships is very crucial in their journey.
I think that's a brilliant answer. I really feel you working with students, you've been running a tuition center and now you run a wonderful college, and I believe you've been seeing all of these students firsthand and you get a very good understanding of this whole game. Now, speaking of that, I also want to know how you deal with your own roadblocks. How do you you did speak about one in your early career, but I'm sure as you transition from the tuition to the college phase also you would have faced many roadblocks. How do you go through this, and can you tell us any specific incident that you can highlight saying, hey, this was a place that I was actually challenged? Because if I look at you from a very far perspective, I can just say, hey, he's figured everything out, and he's on the right direction. And I believe even if you're on the right direction, you have some obstacles coming your way. So I want to know, what are some of the obstacles, or that one big obstacle you faced?
I don't believe anybody has figured out their life completely.
Yeah.
Right till the end, till the very last breath, you are exploring in life, and that's the beauty of being the human being. There's no finishing line. Good can become better, better can become the best can still be better. So there's no finishing line in any dimension, whether it's a skill, a relationship, or whether it's your profession. Now, yes, certain challenges does come your way, but that's where your thinking matters. Sometimes even just changing the way you are phrasing your words and thoughts can ease the problem. When you call something as a crisis, the way your body and mind responds is very different. Same situation, if you call it as a problem, the way your mind and body thinks is different. You can call it as a situation, and I know of many people, and that's one of my greatest privileges, the kind of people I have met in all my walks of life. They will call everything as a situation or an opportunity. I've never heard them use the word crisis, problem, challenge, difficulty, etc. We think it's only words, but words carry that level of energy. If we can even get our words right, things will resolve a lot to a very large extent. There have been situations in the past that we have faced. For example, when we moved from 7th Block Jayanagar, our first college setup, which was 12,000 square feet, to what we have now in Transcend College, 1,20,000 square feet, it was 10 times. Lot of people did come and tell me during the inauguration of our institution, saying that now you have made it so big, now you will see, you will not have family time, you won't have time to do whatever you want to do, your health will get neglected, your relationships will get neglected, you did a big mistake expanding so fast, so soon. Fortunately, I had Mahathir, and for me, even if the whole world says that, what Mahathir says is final. And that's where I believe, no, it can be balanced. I believe that we can blame life of being unfair in many ways. There are people who are taller than me, stronger than me, smarter than me, better looking than me, maybe born in better financial backgrounds than me, etc. But there's one way in which none of us can question the equality of life, that is with respect to time. Whether it is the student or the teacher, doctor or the patient, chairman or the watchman, all of us have only 24 hours in a day. There are some of us who know how to manage time well, and in that same 24 hours they rule the world. There are others who go to work and come back, go to school and come back, and they don't know, they feel the whole day is gone. Time and money, both can be spent in any manner that you want, but it can be spent only once. A person who says, I don't have time, is a person who is actually not managing his time properly. I consciously never say I don't have time for anything. If it is important to me, I will make the time.
True.
And this kind of thought process has helped me overcome those small situations that are there. And once you cross that challenge or obstacle or situation or whatever you want to call it, when you look back, you will realize that's what helped you discover an aspect about you that you did not know. Challenging times reveals you to the world, and you need both. People who agree with you give you comfort. People who disagree with you give you growth, and in life you need both. So don't get upset with the challenges that have come your way. Don't get upset with the people who are not in sync with your line of thinking. Even that is required to take you to the next level. And in life, never have this question of from where to where I have reached. It's always from here, where can I reach? Set the axis back to zero. When we moved to this new campus in 2019, I know there were a lot of people who applauded the fact that in just 4 years we have done so well, the Transcend College is doing really, really well now. That's when Mahathir made me understand yesterday's success does not deserve today's applause. For all that we have achieved in the past, the world has already applauded. Yesterday's success does not deserve today's applause. So again you should strive, again you should discover, again you should explore. So that's the secret of how we have overcome a few challenges that we've had.
Fantastic, Siddharth. I think every word that you said has so much experience that is backing it, and I think people watching this will feel definitely energized when they face a problem, when they face something that they call as an adversity, to turn that into an opportunity. Because at the end of life, you will be faced with that, right? Now you make all the money by the time you're 45, 50 or 60. Now your health is on the decline. Now that's a problem you got to face. If you're in your 20s, now you're figuring out what you have to do in life. So at every junction of life, you have that problem or that situation, as to how you want to call it. I think very well said. And on that note, I want to ask you a very important question. You've been a giver, right? More than being a taker, I truly believe that you got to be a giver to be a changer in this world. And for all the people who are under the age of 23, 25, how important is it to give back apart from making that buck and making that money? What's the importance of giving in your way?
In fact, Lalith, in Transcend College, we have a pledge with 11 statements. The third statement in that Transcend pledge itself reads, I will focus more on what I can give than what I can receive. It's not that one should not receive. The focus should not be on receiving. Focus should be on giving. If the focus is on giving, receiving will happen by itself. On its own, it's a byproduct. One challenge which a lot of us face when it comes to giving is, we try and maintain an account with individuals. I have done this for her, what did she do back for me? I have done this for this cousin of mine, what did he do in return for me? If you try to maintain this account of what I did for an individual and what I got back from that individual, you will always remain miserable. I always believe that we should just have one account for life. I have done this, you may have done it to this individual A, you will get it back from individual B, C, D, E, F in life. Maybe you did it now, maybe you will get it back 5 years down the line. You will not be able to see that connection, that this what you got back from life is because of this what you gave to life. So you always keep your focus on giving and let receiving happen. When we talk about giving, it is not only money. People who are below 22, 23 like you told me, giving need not be monetary or material aspects at all. Maybe you can give people a smile, give them comfort, give them appreciation, give them clarity, maybe just give them that peace and happiness that you are there around, give them that love. Giving need not be materialistic at all.
Giving time could be a very big asset.
Absolutely. Your time is your life. When you give someone your time, you are giving them a part of your life, which is even more than what you can give materialistically to them.
Very true.
When you have a heart to give, you will find a way also. Doesn't matter if you have not earned money yet.
Yeah, I think that's very well put. And as you become a giver, I feel you start seeing the world in a very different perspective, and every time you receive, you'll start building gratitude towards everything that you've gotten, and now because of gratitude you'll start giving back a lot more to the world around you. On that note, Siddharth, it's been fantastic to have you here, and I for one have learned so much sitting down on this podcast. And for everybody who's watching, do check out all social media handles of Siddharth. We will tag some of them and his college, and he runs a beautiful college called Transcend Group of Institutions, and I really admire the way he's trying to put in change, the way he's trying to build the future of this wonderful country by not just following an orthodox system of education, but by giving them opportunities, by allowing them to fail and grow back. And I'm sure his name, this institution's name, is going to be amongst the top institutions in India and the world. Thank you so much, Siddharth, for joining us today, and it's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Dhanush. And I enjoyed myself in this short conversation with you as well. Thank you for your wishes for the institution, and I wish that we can create a greater impact in the world and maybe make this world a better place together.
Thank you so much, Siddharth. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Dhanush.